What's your favorite scary movie? As of right now, I'd say Terrifier 3. The following video is mostly intended for humor. I nitpick, make jokes, and generally just have fun pointing out things that don't quite add up. That said, I may make a few actually valid points along the way. I'll leave it to you to decide which is which. Oh, and spoilers, welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes, I'll talk movies all day, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about Scream 3, the third and probably should have been the final movie in a long-running series based on a Michael and Janet Jackson song. Anyway, how this works is I'm going to go through the movie and point out all the questionable things that I can find in Scream 3. So the movie starts off with Cotton Weary in his car arguing with his agent Andrea on the phone about getting a better deal. He then gets a call from an unknown number who starts flirting with him, so he hangs up on Andrea to talk to a complete stranger. So did Cotton not watch the first two movies? Are you dumb? Also, if you have to drive your own car while on the phone, you're clearly not a big enough star to be demanding a better deal. You need to take what you can get. Wait, so Cotton's got a girlfriend and he's still entertaining random calls from flirty strangers? Nah, everyone who dies in this movie, their blood is on Cotton's hands. Should have just said, sorry, wrong number, then put the phone down. Or better yet, don't answer the phone from numbers you don't recognize in the first place. This movie could have been like 2 minutes. Max. Instead, Ghostface has given him an ultimatum and now we got this cotton picking. Also, how convenient is it that Cotton just happened to be near an exit when Ghostface hung up the phone? And not only was he near an exit, the exit was clear. All that traffic and not nobody going to downtown Hollywood? Actually, to be fair, that makes sense. So why are Christine's feet still wet? When she got out the shower, she walked into her room and stood on the rug, which by the way is a bad idea because over time the water would ruin the carpet. Really should be using a shower mat, but anyway, the rug would have taken a lot of the water off the soles of her feet. So why are her feet still dripping wet? Her hair is dry, her body is dry, she has a nightie on and just decided to throw more water on her feet? For why? I mean, that is water, right? This is a nice looking apartment. Well, I'm guessing they cheaped out and went with MDF wood for the doors. That said, after that many stabs, that knife ain't gonna be able to cut butter. I mean, you can still kill someone with it, but probably gonna want to get a new knife soon. Also, that killed Cotton, or at the very least gave him a cracked skull and a severe brain damage. There's no way he's putting up one last fight. Finally Sidney. She's been through a lot these last couple of movies, so it makes sense she'd rather be alone in the woods with a dog. Or a bear for that matter. Speaking of, I'm guessing that the beware of dogs sign is really just there to scare away any would-be intruders, because there's no way that cute little thing has a vicious bone in its body. That said, considering what Sidney has been through, it might not be a bad idea to have some actually vicious dogs, or a bear for that matter, and maybe some actual security. Like, did she really just set an alarm for a gate that anybody above 5'8" can easily climb?
Hey, it's Laura from Monterey reporting to work. Can you patch me in?
Actually, that's a pretty accurate prediction of the future. But my question is, who's paying for that house? Because crisis call center staff back in Y2K were getting paid around $23,000, maybe at most $50,000 per year. And a house like that was at least $1 million. Even if Sidney was renting, that's $4,000 per month minimum. So what's going on here? Because if Sidney's got secret money like that, she can easily afford to have Ghostface taken care of. You know what I mean? This movie don't need to be more than 15 minutes.
Break the rules. Stop at nothing. Be willing to have the world hate you.
To be fair, she's not wrong. I mean, honestly, a lot of modern day journalism seems to be more concerned with being likes than being truthful. And don't even get me started on the journalists that only care about being first and printing whatever kind of clickbait nonsense with no regard. Anyway, does anyone else always assume Patrick Dempsey is the bad guy? No? Just me? Okay, that's cool. I don't know, I've never seen a movie where Patrick Dempsey is the bad guy, but still, something about Patrick Dempsey makes me always assume he's the bad guy, and I'm always wrong.
Where he had only recently finished shooting a cameo as himself in the film Stab 3, Return to Woodsboro.
Hold up. Nancy O'Dell just said that Cotton Weary only just finished shooting a cameo for Stab 3, but earlier, Cotton said that he wouldn't do it because he wanted a better deal. So what's going on here? Is the reporter lying? I don't think so. Nancy O'Dell is a pretty credible source of information. So was Cotton lying to his agent? Maybe he already did the cameo without Andrea's knowledge and was trying to screw her out of her 10%. That I can believe. Cotton might not have killed Mrs. Prescott, but he's always come across as a scumbag. Or another thing that could have happened, somewhere in the unshown bits, Andrea managed to get him a better deal, then Cotton actually went to shoot his cameo before going to the apartment. I can believe that too, but either way, Cotton has major scumbag energy.
You think serious black actors my age can just throw away jobs? They got Usher doing Pinter off-Broadway.
You know, funny enough, this was only about 6 years before Usher debuted on Broadway in a musical called Chicago. Anyway, that whole thing about serious black actors can't just throw away jobs, yeah, there's some truth to that. But here's the thing, dead men don't make movies. Well, apart from Bruce Lee, and Brandon Lee, and Paul Walker. And come to think of it, Tupac gotta be the hardest working dead guy ever, so maybe it don't even matter. But anyway, the point is, if there is a killer on the loose, and a very clear indication that you're on the list of possible next victims, why are you hanging around? Literally every single one of them should be moved to a secure location.
I'm sorry that things didn't work out with Brad Pitt, but being single, that's a pretty good fallback.
I wonder if Courtney Cox later said that to... You know what? Never mind. What I really want to know is, what happened to Joel? Did he quit? Did he get fired? Did the production only have space for one serious black actor? These things need to be explained.
Gail Weathers?
Could I be more popular?
Well, if you know, you know. Rest in peace. Can't lie, these two are the main reason I watched Scream 3. I mean, I liked Scream 1 and 2 and probably would have watched Scream 3 anyway, but honestly, I can remember feeling like I wasn't in any particular rush until I heard Jay and Silent Bob were in it, so snoochie boochies. Anyway, why does Sidney have a picture of her and her mother on her mini cabinet thingy? After just blaming Mrs. Prescott for everything, and rightfully so by the way, why keep a framed photo of the reason you can't go where everybody knows your name in plain view? Also, for someone who is trying to not exist, why have so many telephones? Sure, you'll need your work telephone, but do you really need a landline phone and a mobile phone? Matter of fact, the work phone already has a home line anyway, so why have more phones? It's already hard to believe that Sidney could afford that house on a crisis call center staff salary. So now I'm thinking, is Sidney moonlighting as a phone sex girl? And if so, was the last call asking for 3 to tango or a party of 5? You know, some wild things. Furthermore, that big massive house and you sleep on the sofa? Sidney's just trying to get got, ain't she? Okay, so Cotton Wary did in fact agree to be in Stab 3. Nancy O'Dell's reputation remains intact and Cotton is still a scumbag. Also, that's some pretty reckless driving. Not only did she completely ignore the stop sign, she took a wide turn without checking for oncoming vehicles or anybody who might be walking there. She also parks in a spot that prevents other vehicles from seeing a stop sign, forcing them to perform dangerous maneuvers. First of all, why are there so many Ghostface costumes? Okay, sure, they're making a movie, but how many people are playing Ghostface at any one time? You really don't need that many backups. And B, how convenient is it that of all the places Sarah could have run to, she just so happened to run into the place where Ghostface was hiding? I mean, obviously Ghostface knew very specifically that when Sarah was about to run outside, the security guard would be standing there to cast an ominous silhouette. Obviously that was all part of Ghostface's plan, specifically. Okay, so they've established that the killer is killing in the order of the movie, but because they don't know which version of the scripts the killer has, there's 3 different possible next victims. So surely now is a good time to put all remaining cast and crew, or at least the 3 possible next victims, in a secure location, right? Okay, so let's recap a little bit. The only other people who knew where Sidney lived was her dad and Dewey. So either Mr. Prescott or Dewey blabbed to the wrong person, or Dewey's attempts at keeping Sidney's file safe failed. So either one of them is, or both of them are, incompetent. Actually, to be fair, it's possible that Charlie, Bailey, Claudia, and or Owen knew her secret identity as well, so maybe it was one of them. Doesn't this pretty much give away who the killer is? The killer has been leaving production photos of Maureen Prescott on the victims, and it just so happens that one of the pictures is almost identical to a photo of Jennifer. To be fair, maybe it doesn't give away the killer, but surely it is pointing heavily to whoever took that photo of Jennifer, or more specifically, whoever directed that photo, whoever got her to stand in that position at that angle. Maybe question that person. Why would Tom run further into the house to use the lighter to see, when he could have just ran outside to the others, which would have been much closer and he would have been able to see the writing just fine. Also, the amount of gas needed to blow up a house that size, they would have all smelled it a long time ago. That's a lot of gas buildup over a long period of time for that kind of explosion. So if they really couldn't smell it earlier, they're all gonna be very ill for the rest of this movie. Okay, so I get that they're suggesting that the killer could be Jennifer or Kincaid because they're the only ones who've used Dewey's phone. But surely Dewey isn't so stupid he'd store Sidney's phone number under her actual name, right?
Down. Sorry.
You see, that's what happens when you ignore stop signs. But you'd think a cop would know better. Also, a killer is on the loose terrorizing a movie set and Martha Meeks was able to just turn up and hang out in one of the trailers. Furthermore, how did Martha know Sidney was going to be at the movie set? Honestly, this is the biggest reason I think Scream 3 should have been the last. The following films weren't bad. Well, mostly not terrible, but the story really ended with part 3. Anything after this should have been a spin-off.
Well, if there's no movie, then no one would care if I took some souvenirs.
Sure, that makes sense. I mean, who wouldn't want to be constantly reminded of the time they couldn't star in a movie because their castmates were getting brutally killed? But that doesn't explain why Angela was standing on the toilet. So that set is a pretty close replica of Sidney's room in Scream 1, even down to how the two doors meet. So it seems to me, whoever designed that set had way more knowledge of Sidney's room than any random set designer should have. So maybe question that person. So remember how I said they don't need that many Ghostface costumes? I'ma take that back. I forgot how much of a bumbling bitch Ghostface becomes whenever he's chasing Sidney around. Honestly, they might not even have enough costumes with all that wear and tear.
You know what I mean, but he was there. He or she or whoever this is.
Actually, that's a pretty accurate prediction of the future. So this Milton guy's kind of double talking a little bit, suggesting that Mrs. Prescott was a willing or at least reluctantly willing participant, but then also suggesting that she wasn't going along with it. So I'm guessing what happened was that Mrs. Prescott was agreeing to get ran through by some Hollywood execs in exchange for movie roles. But when all they ever gave her was some bit parts in a few crappy horror movies, then she started saying no. And that's when she moved to Woodsboro, married Mr. Prescott, and cheated on the one guy that actually loved her. Okay, so by now they know the killer can clone phones, so every phone call should be treated as suspicious, especially when it involves a nonsensical change of plans. I mean, why is Dewey not wondering how Milton would even know Sidney is in town? And how would he have her number to call? Or let's say Milton just phoned the police station. Okay, then why are the police bringing Sidney to him? Nothing in that whole speech made any kind of sense, and a former cop should know that. I think it's pretty clear at this point, whatever Dewey did after he removed Sidney's police file was ultimately the reason the killer got a hold of Sidney's police file in the first place. This dude is dumb. Like, he is actually lackadaisical. Plus, you really shouldn't be driving while using a mobile phone. How many lives is Dewey putting at risk right now?
There's a psycho killer on the loose, and you want to go traipsing around this gigantic mansion?
Tyson makes a good point, but that's also why none of them should be at that house.
I did not fuck that pig Milton to get a leading role.
Honestly, that's probably by far the least surprising reveal in this movie. Here's the thing though, since the goal is to survive, why run further into the house? You saw what happened to Tom, right? Also, you have less chances of getting killed if you're in a group. Push comes to shove, you could always do what Shane did in The Walking Dead. By the way, side note, Shane was right. He was an arsehole for sure, and definitely could have worked more on his approach, but end of the day, Shane was right. Also, I like the fact that even though there's a masked killer on the loose, they still make time for pizza day at the office. I ain't even joking. Place I used to work, they would cancel pizza day for all kinds of dumb reasons. Not to mention they never bought enough pizzas for everyone, and there was always some greedy cunts that would take like 3, 4, 5 slices before you even got a chance to have one. Anyway, Sidney's been alone in the office for at least 10 minutes. Is she really only now noticing the Sidney Prescott file left on the desk? Really? And assuming Sidney isn't supposed to see that file, why was it left on the desk? In plain view. Patrick Dempsey may not be playing the bad guy, but he's definitely playing a bad cop. Hold up, Sidney notices the light coming from under the door, but that door is as wide as the Rock's biceps. I don't think that light would be coming through like that, especially when on the other side the light source is a different color. And of course, Ghostface knew to have the projector set up in this room because he knew Sidney would run into this room specifically. Honestly though, the reveal that Roman was not only the Ghostface of this movie but also Sidney's brother was a good one, and another reason I think this should have been a last Scream movie. But here's the thing. There is still an unanswered question. Kincaid told Sidney that he was going to the movie set, but when he turned up at their house, he said that he was there looking for Sidney and that Tyson told him there was a party. But Tyson was at their house, not the movie set. So why would Tyson be phoning Kincaid to tell him about a party? So far, they've had no interaction with each other. So how did Kincaid really know about the party, and specifically that Sidney was at the house? Sidney left the police station presumably without telling anyone where she was going. So if Kincaid called the station, they wouldn't have known where Sidney went. And if Sidney did tell someone, perhaps Wallace, who was still at the police station when Sidney was there, then why is Kincaid the only cop that showed up? Sidney even asks, "Where's your partner?" So I don't believe Kincaid spoke with Tyson. I think that's cap. And assuming Sidney did tell someone at the police station where she was going, then the whole squad is stupid and lazy. Matter of fact, if Sidney didn't tell anyone where she was going and managed to steal at least 2 guns without anyone noticing, the whole squad is stupid and lazy. Either way, every police officer in this movie is dumb, lazy, incompetent. It's actually ridiculous. Anyway, the fact that Mrs. Prescott was a cold-hearted, cheating bitch that cast away her only son doesn't really explain why he turned out to be the master of puppets pulling the strings. I mean, dude has every right to be upset, but the space between being upset and plotting the deaths of multiple people over 3 movies, it's, you know, a bit big. So I'm thinking, what was Roman's life like before Mrs. Prescott disowned him? Who is his father? Was he even raised by his father? I'm guessing whoever raised him was pretty abusive and the Mrs. Prescott incident just pushed him over the edge. Also, if he's the puppet master, why is he talking? Surely you've seen by now what happens when you start explaining your whole damn plan. Just kill her already. Man, even Nev Campbell is sick of it. That line probably wasn't in the script. It was Nev Campbell genuinely pissed off having to listen to another long, pointless speech.
Lose something?
Found something.
Finally. But come on. Headshots. The puppet master should know that. Imagine getting beaten by your little sister. That's embarrassing. Also, turns out Sidney stole 2 guns and a bulletproof vest. This does not make the police look good. Yeah, this really should have been the last Scream movie, and it should have ended just like this. That one last scare, personally, I don't think it works with this one, especially when Dewey of all people gets the final kill. Like, really? This guy? Anyway, the movie ends with Dewey, Gail, Kincaid, and Sidney all at Sidney's house. Dewey is popping a question to Gail, and they all go to watch a movie. It's a pretty happy ending. Until the credits roll and you realize Harvey Weinstein was one of the producers on this film, so perhaps that whole bit with Angela was trying to tell us something. But that's what I think of Scream 3. What do you think of Scream 3? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.